Well, most murder cases, they make sense, at least on some level. Maybe it's for money, maybe it's for revenge, maybe it's organized crime, some drugs, or even a violent criminal who's been heading down a road that's bad for years. And there's cases like this one. Summer of 1984, the town of Orinda, California. Looks like the place where nothing bad was ever supposed to happen.
Well, it is California, though.
It's quiet, it's wealthy, it's safe, and it's filled with families who thought they knew their neighbors. And one night, 15-year-old Kirsten Costas, she gets into a car with another teenage girl and never comes home.
Yep.
What happened next left an entire community stunned. The killer wasn't just some stranger passing through town. She wasn't even a career criminal. She wasn't even hiding in the shadows either. She was just another girl from the same high school. And when investigators finally uncovered the reason behind the murder, people had an even harder time understanding it.
Right.
Because this wasn't a killing driven by money or some elaborate scheme. Just a murder born out of jealousy, insecurity, and a resentment that had been quietly building for a long time. By the spring of 1984, Kirsten had been invited to join the Bobolinks, better known as the Bobbies. It was an exclusive sorority-like group made up about 30 to 35 of the most popular and best-looking girls at the school. On top of that, she was also a member of the varsity swim team, so she's pretty popular, huh?
Right.
That summer, Kirsten was away at cheerleading camp and staying in a dorm at St. Mary's College in nearby Moraga when her mom, Bernadette Costas, she got what seemed like a completely ordinary phone call Thursday, June 21st, 1984. The caller said she was a Bobby and explained that she knew Kirsten would be away until the weekend. She then asked if she would be allowed to attend an initiation dinner for new Bobbies on a Saturday night. Barrett said yes. The caller told her that she would pick up Kirsten by car and added that no one else should know about the plans. Don't tell nobody. That's already pretty suspicious.
All right. Wow. Evening of 23rd of June, the rest of the Costas family was ready to head out to a baseball game. This is where Kirsten's brother was playing. And before leaving, Barrett told her daughter to enjoy herself at the dinner and reminded her to turn on the porch light. About the very same time, Raymond Protti, who was driving his daughter, Bernadette, to a house near their home where she had said that she had a babysitting job. Bernadette asked her daddy to leave the car. I don't want to call you to come back. What's he going to do, walk home?
Apparently, it's only 150 yards.
Which is an orange Ford Pinto parked in front of the house because it would make her feel safer. Raymond agreed and then walked the roughly 150 yards back home. It's crazy that he even drove her there.
I know. You're like, why don't you walk and I'll go park the car
right
there.
For a few minutes, everything seemed normal. Bernadette got behind the wheel of the Pinto, drove to Kirsten's house. She picked her up. She told Kirsten that the Bobolinks initiation dinner had already been, it was just a story for her parents. According to Bernadette, the two girls had actually been invited to an unsupervised party.
Oh.
So I'm not going to get initiated in the group? No.
Well, she was already a part of it, though,
Right.
so I don't even know why she would think that.
In the confession later that Bernadette gave, Bernadette said that Kirsten agreed to go, but wanted to stop at a nearby hangout so she can smoke some marijuana before going to the party. When Kirsten's parents later heard the taped confession, they strongly rejected that claim. She said, no, not my baby girl. She didn't do drugs. She didn't even drink. She didn't even say a bad word.
Sure.
They insisted that their daughter was not even a casual drug user or anything like that. Just a perfect little angel. Bernadette told the police that she did not want to smoke at all. And that Kirsten was just begging her to please. She said, we just talked, argued. Not argued really, but she didn't think it was any big deal. And I just didn't want to, Bernadette said. She thought I was just being weird. What, you little flake?
Well, I got news for you, Mom
You
and
square.
Dad. Your daughter's mega popular, hanging out with the most popular kids in school.
In California.
And all that shit, and you think she's not smoking at least a little bit of weed?
In California in 1984.
At 15 years old?
She's smoking weed.
Come on, buds.
Maybe even doing a little bit of hallucinations.
Maybe. A little
She's a little pot smoker. According to Bernadette, this agreement led to Kirsten to get out of the car, and she started walking to their nearby home of family friends Alexander and Mary Jane Arnold. This is in Moraga. The Arnolds had been playing cribbage with neighbors when there was a knock at the door. They opened it. They found Kirsten standing there. And behind her, they noticed another girl who looked to be about 15 or so. She was just lingering around out along the path. Kirsten appeared tense, but she didn't seem terrified. She told them, my friend got weird on me and asked if she could call home. When nobody answered the phone at home, Alexander Arnold offered to drive her back to a neighbor's house in Orinda. During the drive, Kirsten did not seem concerned. When Arnold noticed a mustard-colored Pinto following behind them. Oh, this bitch. Once they arrived at the neighbor's house, Kirsten assured Arnold that she'd be fine. She's right here at home.
Right.
She then got out of the car. As Kirsten stood on the porch of the neighbor's house, Bernadette suddenly attacked her with a large knife she had found in the Pinto.
Just found it, huh?
My goodness, just like that? Kirsten was stabbed 5 times. 2 of the wounds were foot-long gashes across her back. 2 more were to the front of her body, including a 15-inch slashing wound that cut through her left arm, entered her chest, and penetrated her left lung.
Oh, jeez.
The 5th wound was a defensive injury on her right arm, showing that she had at least tried to protect herself during the attack. The wounds to Kirsten's back were devastating. They punctured her right lung, passed through her diaphragm, and lacerated her liver. Fuck you. After that very attack, the killer fled in that very Pinto. Alexander Arnold and other witnesses later described the attacker was a round-faced blonde girl wearing a yellow shirt and faded red sweatpants. Arnold immediately got into his car and followed the Pinto. Damn, he's seen all this and didn't try to stop anything?
I guess not.
What a piece of shit.
Man, it's a knife attack. Probably happened in 5 seconds.
Right. But after about a quarter mile, he lost the vehicle and gave up the chase. What a piece of shit.
How many mustard colored Pintos are driving around this fucking town? First of all.
And she was probably driving erratically. You tell me you couldn't keep up with her after you just witnessed somebody get murdered? Kirsten's screams echoed throughout the neighborhood. Inside that very house she was at, Arthur Hillman, his wife, and their sons, they've been spending what they had started as a quiet evening when they suddenly heard the terrifying cries. Arthur Hillman looked out, saw Kirsten staggering toward him. As she struggled forward, she screamed, help me, I've been stabbed. Arthur Hillman caught Kirsten as she collapsed into his arms, tore open her blouse, and tried desperately to stop the bleeding from the 5 stab wounds. But there was little he could do. Blood spurting and pouring from her injuries. He said, I asked her what happened. Who did it? Hillman later recalled. Kirsten, a girl who he'd known ever since she was an infant, never answered those questions. Instead, she gasped. She gasped that she was having trouble breathing. Hillman tilted her head back and attempted mouth-to-mouth resuscitation while waiting for help. And by the time the paramedics arrived, summoned by one of Hillman's sons, he had done everything he could. And 1 hour later, Kirsten was pronounced dead.
Damn. As the night wore on, ambulances and Contra Costa County Sheriff's Patrol cars crowded Orchard Road. Floodlights lit up the normally quiet corner as investigators began processing the scene. Meanwhile, Kirsten's parents and brother were returning home from dinner. As they came over the last rise in the road, they saw the emergency vehicles gathered ahead.
Dang.
Art Costas immediately jumped out of the car in the middle of the street. Barrett remained inside, terrified of what she might learn. It was after 2 a.m. before sheriff's deputies were finally even able to question Barrett. Captain Stanley Garvin, who headed investigations for the Contra Costa County Sheriff's Department, he later remembered his investigators being confident the case would be solved before sunrise.
Uh-oh.
They were wrong. Not one arrest was made. Fast forward 5 days later, Kirsten's funeral was held. Among the many students who attended was Bernadette Protti.
Wow.
Over the course of the same summer, Bernadette continued taking classes to prepare for her confirmation at church. Looking back later, she told police how she managed to live with what she had done. She said, I was really good at blocking it out of my mind, and I still am. That's why I can live through every day, because it doesn't seem real.
Oh.
Fortunately for her, for investigators, it was real. They immediately launched a massive investigation into Kirsten's murder. At the start, they had only had 2 real leads, what they called the female figure, seen at the scene, and that light-colored Pinto the witnesses had spotted.
And back in 1984, there was probably a
Pintos.
lot of those Pintos around.
Detectives conducted more than 300 interviews, including 4 separate with Bernadette. They tracked down roughly 1,000 leads and examined 750 Ford Pintos, including the Protti's family's car.
All right.
750 in that location? Jeez, guys, what are we doing there?
That's crazy.
It's the Pinto Plaza. To many investigators, Bernadette seemed like a strong suspect. To her friends, though, they said, no, it's impossible. She wouldn't do that.
Right.
They simply couldn't picture her carrying out such a sudden and violent attack. I knew she had the Pinto, but she was the last person you'd think of, one friend said. She seemed as upset about the murder as everybody else did. As the weeks passed, and that's called a psycho.
All right.
As the weeks passed and progress stalled, local investigators turned to the FBI's behavioral sciences unit for help. The public often calls the process profiling, but the FBI's technical term for it is criminal investigative analysis. It's profiling.
Right. Crazy. Using that very profile, investigators gradually narrowed their list of suspects until they were focused on one single person. And you guessed it, Bob Barker.
He was getting out of control, rolling around the neighborhood, spaying and neutering cats. Got out of hand.
All right. And they focused on Bernadette Protti. Years later, Bernadette would tell an FBI agent, "Sounds just like me."
That's because it is you.
Right. Detectives brought her back in for additional questioning. During those interviews, Bernadette repeated her alibi. She said, "I was babysitting for the Weems family down the road on the night of the murder."
What about the Weems?
Right.
Are they going to corroborate this or what?
Right. She also agreed to take a polygraph examination. Investigators believe she failed portions of the test, while other sections produced inconclusive results. Doesn't matter anyway. You can't use it.
Right.
Even so, the Popo still did not have enough evidence to make an arrest, and Bernadette, you can go home. Throughout the very summer, rumors, accusations, and speculations, they continued to swirl around Orinda, but no one was charged with any crime. Frustrated by the pace of the sheriff's investigation and desperate for answers, her family decided to take matters into their own hands. They used a small portion.
They went to everybody's house that owned a Pinto and murdered them.
Right. They used a small portion of the reward money that had been raised by the community. They hired a private investigator named Elliot Friedman. Friedman developed his own theories. He believed the murder may have been drug-induced, or that the person responsible had developed a lesbian attraction to Kirsten. In a community like Orinda, Friedman argued, a girl with homosexual tendencies could have a big brand on her forehead.
It's true.
Right. In his view, the motive may have been a fear of humiliation. As the investigation dragged on, Elliot Friedman decided to take a closer look at the alibis of the people he considered the most likely suspects, including Bernadette Protti. Old Bernadette had repeatedly claimed she was babysitting for the Weems. But when Friedman spoke with Joanna Weems, did the cops not fucking do this?
Apparently not.
He got a very different story. According to Joanna, she even asked Bernadette to babysit. And over a year, she hasn't been to her house. Oh my gosh, the cops didn't do this?
I guess
They just took her at her word? Oh, the Weems? Okay.
All right, yeah.
All right.
Sounds all right.
For the Tanner family, the ones with the uncles living with them. I don't fucking babysit them all the time. Friedman and me, Good Morning San Francisco, whatever it was called. Was it?
Wake up, Sam.
Wake up. Friedman immediately passed that info along to investigators. When he told detectives that Bernadette had been lying about her alibi, he was informed that she had supposedly passed a polygraph examination. So they relied on
a stupid machine instead of going to ask the fucking people?
Oh, my goodness.
Gosh.
Well, Friedman shot back at the investigators and said, "The fucking polygraph is wrong."
Idiots.
Wow.
Captain Stanley Garvin has never publicly discussed the incident.
I fucking bet.
But Friedman later said that deputies decided to have the polygraph results reviewed again, this time by the FBI. When the re-examination came back, investigators concluded that Bernadette had, in fact, been deceptive.
Oh, my goodness.
Even with that development, authorities still lacked enough evidence to arrest her, though. Then, December 11th, Bernadette was brought in for another interview. This time, she sat down with Ron Hilly, who was a young FBI agent who had been assisting with the investigation. At first, Bernadette stuck to her story.
Right.
But the conversation began to change when Hilly walked her through the psychological profile that had been developed for the killer.
Okay.
Among other things, the profile suggested that the person responsible would show very little remorse for the crime. As Bernadette listened, she made a striking comment. "It sounds like me."
Damn. It does, doesn't it?
She then asked Hilly whether he had ever considered that a 16-year-old girl might be more afraid of publicity than of going to prison.
Oh.
Despite those remarks, Bernadette still did not confess. Instead, she told Hilly she wanted to go home and think about things. He agreed. Without a confession or additional evidence, investigators, they didn't have enough to place her under arrest, so she was allowed to go home.
Well, you already know. They're thinking this is it.
Well, yeah. They want her to go home and think about it.
Oh, and they're watching the house, too. Oh, well, we don't, because they didn't even ask the fucking Weems if she babysat. So,
right.
Oh, my gosh. I can't believe that.
After months had passed, Bernadette found it harder and harder to live with what she did.
Months? They let us go for months?
The weight of it began showing up in her private journal where she wrote about the guilt that was consuming her. "I have caused a lot of hurt and pain to a lot of people. I don't want to hurt people anymore. I want to go to heaven when I die. I regret what I did. I can't bring Kirsten back or change time. If I kill myself, I will hurt people even more. My family." At times, she thought about taking her own life, but her religious upbringing stopped her from acting on those thoughts.
Cool.
"I would go to hell if I killed myself."
Wow.
Then came a moment that would change everything. December 10th, 1984, before leaving for school, Bernadette sat down and wrote a note for her parents. The letter makes it clear just how much anguish she was carrying. After finishing it, she left where her mother would find it once she was gone.
Okay.
The note read, "Dear Mom and Dad, I've been trying to tell you this all day, but I love you so much it's too hard, and I'm taking the easy way out. The FBI man thinks I did it, and he's right. I've been able to live with it, but I can't ignore it. It's too much for me, and I can't be that deceiving. Please still love me. I can't live unless you love me. I've ruined my life and yours, and I don't know what to do, and I'm ashamed and I'm scared.
Oh.
Bernadette.
Wow.
P.S. Please don't say how, could you, or why, because I don't understand this, and I don't even know why.
Right. Son of a bitch.
Jeez.
Wow. For months and months, investigators had been trying to prove what happened on the night Kirsten Costas was murdered. In the very end, it was Bernadette herself who finally admitted the truth. After finding the note, Elaine Protti immediately called the school. She and her husband then brought Bernadette to the sheriff's office in nearby Martinez. This is where Bernadette gave a 90-minute confession that was recorded by the sheriff. Word spread through Orinda almost immediately. People knew the killer had finally been caught, but at first nobody knew who it was. Who was it? Could it be you? Probably looking at everybody in the supermarket. Well,
right.
Well, on December 11th, nearly every girl at Miramonte High School showed up for class except for one, Bernadette. When students arrived for their morning Latin class, only one person was missing, like we said, Bernadette. The following day, the sheriff...
You could have said the part where even they were sick, came to school. No one wanted them to be mistaken for...
Right. On December 11th, nearly every girl at the Miramonte High School showed up for class. Even students who were sick with the flu, they came to school. Not anybody wanted their absence to be mistaken for an arrest.
But fuck that, I didn't do it.
Right. And when students arrived for their morning Latin class, guess who wasn't there? Bernadette. Following day, the sheriff held a press conference that drew a large crowd of reporters and community members. Standing before photographers and journalists, he outlined a scale investigation. His team spent more than 4,000 man-hours on the case.
And you didn't even interview the one person where her alibi was.
They followed up on 1,000 leads when they had 1,001. Right. They interviewed 800 people when they had 801 people to interview. They examined 754 Pintos before finally solving the murder. 3 months later, Bernadette's case went to trial. Residents from across Orinda packed that courtroom. At the very beginning of the trial, Bernadette sat facing forward. Her mouth hung slightly open. Her eyes appeared unfocused. And then Bernadette Costas took the witness stand. As Barrett finished her testimony and walked back past the defense table, she slowed her pace as she passed Bernadette. And at that moment, Bernadette turned her head away. She said, I can't even look at you. According to those in the courtroom, she never looked straight ahead again for the rest of the proceeding. When Bernadette's taped confession was played in court, the room fell completely silent. I mean, when they're there, they're like, how could you? And then when you actually hear it, you're just like, damn.
Right.
Damn. Because then you feel bad for her, too, I guess. A little 15-year-old girl, 16, however old she was. The only sound anyone heard was Bernadette's soft, girlish voice coming from the recording. And one of the first things she asked investigators was not about Kirsten or the murder. Instead, she wanted to know what's going to happen next. What are you going to tell the press? And then follow with another question. Do I go to juvenile or do I go back to Miramonte?
No, you're going to jail, bitch.
You're not going to fucking Miramonte, buddy. And the two possibilities, return to Miramonte seemed to frighten her even more. She knew how students at the school would react once they learned the truth. I can't live if it's known. I would rather die, she said.
Girl, get a grip.
Investigators also asked what Kirsten had done that made her so angry. Bernadette's answer revealed years of insecurity and disappointment that she had been carrying around about her own self. She said, I have a lot of inferiority feelings. She didn't say that. She's 15.
She probably did. I mean,
I have a lot of inferiority feelings, and I really have bad feelings about myself. I lost for cheerleader. I didn't get into the club I wanted to. I didn't get on the yearbook. So, I don't know. I just felt bad. So she continued on. She pointed to moments that had stayed with her long after these things happened. She said, Kirsten just sort of put me down. One memory in particular stood out. She said, I remember one time, it was a ski trip we were on together. I mean, we don't have a lot of money and we can't afford a lot of nice ski stuff. And I just had this really crummy pair of skis and some boots. But, I was having fun. Kirsten made some comment about them. And it seemed like everyone else was thinking that as well. But she was the only one who would come out and say it. For Bernadette, those feelings of rejection and inadequacy had built up for over time, right? Some Mean Girls, they made a movie about it.
Right.
By the time she sat down in that interview room, she was describing a resentment that had been growing long before the night Kirsten Costas was killed. And Bernadette also admitted that she was the one who had made the phone call that set up the meeting with Kirsten from the very beginning. According to her confession, she had simply just wanted to befriend her and take her to a party. When Kirsten walked up to the Pinto and looked inside, Bernadette said her reaction was underwhelming. Oh, it's you. I kind of believe that.
Wow.
Well,
Bernadette then repeated her claim that Kirsten wanted to smoke weed before going to the party. That allegation was met with disbelief from all of Kirsten's family and many of her friends.
I kind of believe that, too.
She made it sound like this was a drug-related murder, and it wasn't, Barrett Costas later said. While Barrett stopped short of claiming that her daughter had never smoked weed, she insisted Kirsten didn't have her own supply. Well, she didn't have her own supply. She was going over to somewhere else's house.
Right.
Even so, Bernadette told investigators that she and Kirsten drove to a church parking lot to smoke the weed. She said an argument broke out after she refused to join in. According to Bernadette, Kirsten then got out of the car and ran off. Bernadette claims she followed her, first on foot and then in the Pinto, because she wanted to make sure Kirsten got home safely. But as the evening went on, she said she became increasingly worried about what Kirsten might tell the other girls at school about what had happened. And she's got to die. That's fucked up.
It's crazy.
By the time Kirsten stepped out of Alexander Arnold's car at the neighbor's house, Bernadette said that fear had turned into anger.
Wow.
In her confession, she admitted that she used a knife she'd found inside the Pinto to stab Kirsten to death.
Why was there a knife in the Pinto? It was her dad's Pinto.
Well, during the trial, Bernadette's sister, Virginia, who worked as a bank examiner, she testified that she kept a 1.5 foot long knife in the car so she could slice tomatoes for lunch.
Really?
After the attack.
She needed a knife that long to slice fucking tomatoes?
Maybe it was big-ass tomatoes.
Holy shit.
She was eating a Scooby-Doo sandwich.
Right.
After the attack, Bernadette said she drove home, hid the knife, and then went for a walk with her mother and the family dog.
Wow.
Next day, she washed the knife and returned it to the kitchen.
Well, that's nasty.
Later, she disposed of the clothing she had worn that night, throwing her t-shirt and sweatpants into the garbage dump at the Sleepy Hollow Swim Club.
Smart.
Well, as the 90-minute confession played in court, many people in the gallery were visibly affected by what they were hearing.
I bet.
Some spectators cried. One reporter who attended the trial wrote that by the time the tape ended, even Barrett Costas had her head bowed.
Oh, wow.
The reporter had gotten it wrong, though. Barrett Costas did not have her head bowed because she was moved by Bernadette's confession.
Wow.
She was trying not to become physically sick while listening to it.
Wow.
To Barrett, the murder had been planned from the very beginning. The murder of my daughter was premeditated from the moment of the phone call, she said.
It's true.
She had plenty of time to change her mind.
Right.
The Costas family argued that Bernadette's confession was filled with falsehoods. They questioned her explanation for the knife, pointing out that nobody uses an 18-inch knife to slice a tomato.
Damn right.
They also rejected the idea that Bernadette had ever intended to even take Kirsten to a party,
Right.
noting she was dressed casually and didn't appear prepared for any social event. On the afternoon of the third day of the trial, Judge Edward Merrill delivered his decision. Bernadette Protti, you are hereby found guilty of second-degree murder, though.
Oh.
Well,
Wow. April 1st, first hot day of spring. Children across Orinda were signing up for Meadow Pool's summer swim team. Bernadette returned to court for sentencing. She was committed to the California Youth Authority. Under the sentence, she could serve no less than 1 year and no more than 9 years, remaining in custody until she reached the age of 25 if authorities choose to keep her that long.
that's crazy, dude.
Right.
I mean, it was second degree.
In the end, she ended up serving 7 years. Bernadette Protti was released on parole in 1992 at the age of 23.
Whole life still ahead of her.
Not everyone believed she should have been freed. One parolee.
Yeah, a parole. Well, I guess a parolee. He's
Right. Yeah, fuck that. Should have been me. One parole examiner described
would've been.
right.
already paroled if he's a parolee.
Right. One parole examiner described Protti as a dangerous and said that she possessed a hidden trigger that anyone can pull. Even with that warning, the State Youthful Offender Parole Board voted 2-1 to release her on the June 10th. At two earlier parole hearings, though, Kirsten's parents, Arthur and Barrett Costas, had also strongly opposed her release.
I would assume so.
Right. For them, they said 7 years wasn't even enough to make up from losing their daughter for life, nor could it undo the loss they had lived ever since. And by the time of the parole hearings, Arthur and Barrett Costas had moved to Hawaii, but they remained deeply involved in the process. Apparently not. They told the parole officers that they feared Bernadette Protti was doing exactly what she had done after the murder, convincing people that everything's fine. And to them, it was entirely possible that she had persuaded prison authorities that she was rehabilitated just as she had deceived her family, friends, and community during the 6-month investigation of her daughter's murder. Wow.
Rather than attend the hearing in person, the Costases, they sent a videotaped statement urging the parole board not to release the woman who had killed their daughter. After the decision was announced, Arthur Costas spoke by telephone from his home in Honolulu. He said he was deeply disappointed. From a victim's standpoint, the punishment doesn't even begin to equate to the magnitude of the crime.
Right.
He said. He also expressed frustration with the justice system that had placed Protti in a facility where she was able to continue her education and even have a boyfriend, opportunities that Kirsten would never, ever have.
Wow.
You can't replace your child, so you think about that all the time, he said. The emotions and the public safety, we lose on both counts.
Right.
Costas always also worried that Protti still posed a risk to others.
I believe so.
Despite those concerns, parole board member Jamie Bailey and hearing officer Sergio Gomez, they recommend that Bernadette be released. In their majority opinion, they concluded that she, quote-unquote, no longer presents an immediate threat to society.
Wow.
Like we said, not everybody agreed. That one that dissented, his name was Victor Weishart. He argued that Kirsten Costas' killer should remain in custody.
Well, yeah.
He wrote that Protti remains a danger to the public and is in need of further treatment to address her inability to control her anger and impulses and show some damn remorse, would ya?
Well, even if she would only have been there for 2 more years.
It's true. Even 8 years after the murder, the same question that had divided people since Bernadette's arrest still remained. Had she truly changed, or was she simply very good at being a conniving, convincing, you-know-what others thought she had?
We never know.
Victor Weishart, he pointed to a recent incident at the California Youth Authority as evidence that she still had some serious problems controlling her emotions.
What happened here?
According to him, Protti had demonstrated anger and a lack of impulse control during a confrontation with her boyfriend at the Youth Authority school.
Well,
who the hell's dating her?
Right.
That incident played a major role in his opposition to her release. In his dissenting opinion, Weishart warned that the same issues that had led to Kirsten's death might still be present somewhere downside.
Yeah.
I hate to think how she would have handled the incident had she been on parole and been able to arm herself and stalk again another victim.
Right.
That's what he said.
She has a hidden trigger, he said, that anyone can pull just by not giving her what she thinks she wants or should get in a relationship. Despite those concerns, the majority of the parole board, they said, nah, she can go.
Bye.
After leaving custody, Bernadette Protti departed California altogether. A spokesperson for the California Youth Authority confirmed that she had left the state, but declined to reveal where is she going. And with that, one of the most shocking crimes...
And they let her leave the state?
Right. One of the most shocking crimes in Orinda's, California's history entered a new chapter. Kirsten Costas was gone. Her family left. Bernadette Protti, she confessed, convicted, served 7 years. She also left Cali. Yet, even after the court proceedings ended and the parole hearings were over, disagreement remained over one question. Was Bernadette Protti a rehabilitated offender who had paid her debt to society? Or, and hear me out on this one, or is she still that same troubled teenager on the night of June 23rd, 1984, who turned jealousy, insecurity, and anger into murder?
Yes.
Is she? For many people connected to the case, that question will never be answered. Looking back on this case, it's easy to focus on Bernadette and try to figure out what was going on inside her head. People have been doing this since 1984. But at the center of this story is the real victim, Kirsten Costas. She's just 15 years old. Whole life ahead of her. Spending her summer at cheerleading camp, hanging out with friends, swimming, smoking a little pot, doing all the normal things a teenager does. And then one phone call changed everything. What makes this case disturbing is how incredibly small the motive seems when you even stack up against what happened. This is just petty bullshit. It wasn't a fight that's been going on for years. There wasn't some massive betrayal. Wasn't any money involved. Wasn't a boyfriend. Wasn't, I don't know, anything. According to Bernadette's own confession, it just came down to jealousy, feelings of rejection, and the belief that Kirsten represented everything that she wanted to be, but she could not become. And that shocked a lot of people in Orinda. Not that a murder happened. It's that it happened because something that on the surface seemed just unbelievably trivial. I mean, are you serious?
Like, really, girl?
The case made headlines across the country, became one of California's most notorious juvenile murders. Still, people debate Bernadette's sentence, her release, and whether justice was actually served. But for the Costas, the debate never changed the outcome. Their daughter never came home. And more than 40 years later, that's still the part of the story. No grandkids, know anything. One summer night, one phone call, one decision that couldn't be taken back. 2 families whose lives would never be the same again.
Wow.
Crazy.
That's bullshit.
Wow.
She did not serve her due time that she should have.
Right.
Sorry, I don't give a fuck how old you are. 7 years for murdering somebody. I don't give a fuck if it was first, third, second, or 100-degree murder.
Right.
You killed somebody.
What they should have sentenced her to, no more than 9 years in the youth, because they can't. No more than 9 years in the youth. But after that 9 years, there should be an evaluation, not a parole hearing, like a new trial type deal, to see if she actually, because they should have sentenced her life. You know what I mean?
Second-degree murder, though. I don't think second-degree carries a life sentence.
It's true. It's like involuntary manslaughter. It's like a mandatory 5 years.
Even voluntary manslaughter is not even life. So,
right.
Wow, it's crazy.
Wow.
Old Bernadette Protti.
And how do you not? I still don't understand. How do you not interview her main alibi? What?
Her only alibi was
Are
that.
You fucking serious?
Golly.
They didn't even ask your dad, where'd you drop her off? Yeah, at the Weems house. Oh, come on. Oh, no, we're not going to follow up on that. We'll pick
I won't believe her. Yeah.
We'll take a polygraph.
Jeez.
But that's not admissible in court. That's fine. He'll give us a good idea.
Right. That's going to do for us.
And then the motherfuckers couldn't even read the polygraph because the FBI came back and was like, no, everything she said was a fucking lie.
She seemed pretty deceptive to me, guys.
Oh, really? Is that what those squiggly marks? Oh, I thought that was normal because it kept on happening.
I thought that was supposed to happen. That's what happens when we hooked our deputies up to it. With that, we're out of here. We'll see you next week. Subscribe, like, comment. If you're listening on YouTube, hit the bell. And if you're listening on podcast, give us a review, comment, and share us with your friends. We'll see you next week for more Outlaws and Gunslingers. We're the Multi Michiganators.